Hello and welcome to AV Team channel. My name is Vilas. Jaipur has far too many touristic places and it is rather difficult to cover all places when you are bike touring. There are several options for staying, from 5-star hotels, palaces to dormitories and guest houses. For bikepacking tourists, the main cost is night stays in hotels. Before starting this tour, I did some research and found that staying in hostels was a great option in this part of India. Thanks to the internet, there is also a lot of information available. Moustache Hostel had a few hundred reviews and was rated amongst the best hostel in Jaipur. So my obvious choice was Moustache. For an air-conditioned dorm, if you are paying 500 to 600 rupees, I think you can't go wrong. The distance from my hostel was only about 15 kilometers, but there is a bit of climb to reach the base of these forts. There were other options like taking a taxi or auto rickshaw and get to the base of the fort, but I like to use my bicycle where possible. If one wants to thoroughly understand and explore the fort, it can take several days. After all, they have been here for hundreds of years. They have witnessed so many historical events. Riding a bicycle in India has its own challenges, but having started early in the morning has two distinct advantages. One, it's not very hot, and two, the traffic is not very crazy. In this Rajasthan tour, I had decided to stay in hostels where possible. Dormitories are economical, but the bathroom is shared. The other issue is there are others sharing the dorm as well. This means some of them could be snoring at night, and that could be extremely disturbing if you are a light sleeper. I am a morning person. When I woke up, the others were fast asleep, so I had the bathroom to myself. I could take my time to shave, shower, and get ready. I think it was before 8:30 in the morning I reached the parking lot of Amer Fort. Jaigarh Fort, located on one of the peaks of the Aravalli range of hills, is built about 400 meters above the Amer Fort. It provides an excellent view of Aravalli Hills and the Amer Fort down below. After buying my entry ticket, I was very curious to see inside the Jaigarh fort. The entry ticket, I think it is 35 rupees for Indian nationals and 85 rupees for foreign tourists. Why are there two different prices? I do not know. But the ticket is not very expensive. After all, there are some maintenance costs and we must share those. Jaigarh Fort became one of the world's most efficient cannon foundries, mainly due to the abundance of iron ore mines in the vicinity of the fort. The main attraction of the fort is Jaigarh cannon, one of the largest cannons at that time, weighing 50 tons with over 20-foot long barrel and 11-inch diameter. It was really very interesting to see the cannon foundry where once some massive cannons, mostly over 16 foot long, were built. Some of them rested on all four wheels instead of two, thus making it possible to fire in all directions. Although a strong fort built in beautiful red sandstone, it was never home to any rulers but was mainly used for manufacturing artilleries. The entire fort is mostly intact and still maintains its grandeur. Jaigarh Fort was mainly built as a watchtower and to protect the neighboring Amer Fort where the royals lived. It was almost the lunchtime. After that morning bicycle ride to the fort, walking up the fort and going around the fort itself made me hungry. Since I was the first visitor to Jaigarh Fort that day, the ticket counter had not opened yet, and I got some time to talk to the security staff at the first entrance. Very little did I know about a secret passage that connects the forts of Jaigarh and Amer. The passage is kind of hidden, and many people will just miss it unless they are guided. People generally visit these two forts separately. What that means is they spend more time and money, or if they are short on time, they may just skip Jaigarh Fort. In my view, these two forts can be combined. This will also allow you to take this mysterious, for some people, it could also be a bit scary tunnel route. Initially, it goes through a cobblestone alleyway with beautiful arches, but later it takes you down a steep staircase. After that, you go through a long dark passage until you come across an iron gate. I, being the first tourist on that day, the gate was closed, but I could hear a security guard come up from the other end and open the gate for me. Once through this gate and the dimly lit tunnel, you will appear on Amer Fort. Most of the people are highly interested in going to Amer Fort because of its absolutely royal buildings, grand architecture, lavish gardens, and the history. It could be one of the most visited tourist places in and around Jaipur. Several Hindi films were shot on Amer Fort. Think Jodha Akbar, Bajirao Mastani, Mughal-e-Azam, and a number of other epic movie scenes are shot at this beautiful fort. Not only did the film industry encash big, but also more and more tourists, particularly Indian tourists, wanted to come and visit the fort. Amer Fort is a great example of Rajput architecture. Some of its buildings and work have influence of Mughal architecture. Constructed of red sandstone and marble, the attractive opulent palace is laid out on 4 levels, each with a courtyard. It consists of the Diwan-e-Aam or Hall of Public Audience, the Diwan-e-Khas or Hall of Private Audience, the Sheesh Mahal or the Mirror Palace, and the Sukh Niwas, where a cool climate is artificially created by winds that blow over a water cascade within the palace. The palace was the residence of the Rajput Maharajas and their families. Amer Fort was originally built by Raja Man Singh. Jai Singh expanded it in early 1600s. Improvements and additions were made by successive rulers over the next 150 years. The palace is divided into 6 separate sections, each with its own entry gate and courtyard. The main entry is through Suraj Pol or the Sun Gate, which leads to the first main courtyard. This was the place where armies would hold victory parades. Amer Fort, along with 5 other forts of Rajasthan, was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Having closely seen several forts of Maharashtra, it was but natural that I started to inadvertently compare those with Amer and Jaigarh. Jaipur is less than 300 kilometers from Delhi, and Delhi was the capital of Mughal Empire. Rajputs were brave warriors, but their ruling kings, instead of fighting the Mughals, who were outsiders to India cooperated with them. Forts in Maharashtra, on the other hand, were used for the real purpose for which they were built. The great Shivaji Maharaj and their troops during the same era were fighting several guerrilla wars. All said and done, I much appreciate efforts the Rajasthan government has been taking since India became independent. They have not only maintained the forts very well, but have promoted the heritage sites to collect revenues through tourism. With these thoughts, I started to get down from the fort. It takes only about 20 minutes or so to get back to the parking lot. There are various ways one can go to Amer Fort. There are buses running every 10 minutes from Hawa Mahal. That is the cheapest option for people who are not going on a bicycle like me. Other options are auto rickshaws or taxis. Once at the foot of the fort, you can either climb on foot like I did, or take a jeep ride, or the most expensive and of course the most royal option would be to take an elephant ride all the way up. One can literally spend days and months together to actually understand any of these forts. A lot of planning must have gone into it, right from selecting the site of building the fort to selecting architects who would design various chambers, rooms for kitchen staff, maids, security staff, and so on, collecting raw materials, selecting supervisors, organizing labor, making payments, keeping accounts. Mind you, there were no accounting or architectural softwares. In fact, there were no computers. So all must have been manually done. I wonder if these paperworks are still available somewhere. These forts obviously do not display all artifacts, royal documents, etc. If one is interested in doing a deeper dive into how these people actually lived for hundreds of years, Jaipur is also home to museums such as Albert Hall Museum, Anokhi Museum, Maharaja Sawai Mansingh Museum, to name a few. Jal Mahal, or the Palace in Water, is in the middle of Mansagar Lake. It was originally constructed in 1699 and later in early 18th century was renovated and enlarged. Jal Mahal, built in red sandstone, is a 5-storied building, of which 4 floors remain underwater. It is closed for tourists because of a pending court case. I am not sure if one can appreciate the beauty of this palace by a boat ride in the lake. I did not see any boats, so possibly that may not be an option as well. My Jaipur exploration was almost coming to an end. My area of interest was forts, and I had been to all 3 forts around Jaipur. I went to the railway station to check the procedure for taking my bicycle on the train the next day to Jaisalmer. I had my dinner on the rooftop restaurant of the hostel where I met many young backpackers. The next day, I got up a little late. My train was to leave for Jaisalmer at around 4:30 in the afternoon. My hostel checkout time was 11 am. They are not too strict about the timings, particularly if the hostel is not too busy. Also, there is a common area where you can leave your backpack and pick it up later. I checked out at 11, left my panniers in the common area, and left for Jantar Mantar. Jantar Mantar is open all 7 days in a week between 9 am and 5 pm. I had my breakfast on the way. Jantar Mantar was only a few kilometers from my hostel. Again, one is not allowed to take bicycles inside, so I had to leave her outside. The word Jantar is derived from Yantra, a Sanskrit word meaning instrument or a machine, and Mantar from Mantrana, also a Sanskrit word that means to calculate. Therefore, Jantar Mantar literally means calculating instrument. Entry fee for Indians is 50 rupees and for foreigners it is 200 rupees. Again, I do not know why the difference. For students, Indian as well as foreign, the fee is subsidized. Jantar Mantar is a collection of 19 astronomical instruments built by the Rajput king Sawai Jai Singh and was completed in 1734. It features the world's largest stone sundial and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The observatory consists of 19 instruments for measuring time, predicting eclipses, tracking location of major stars as the Earth orbits around the Sun, ascertaining and declinations of planets, and determining the celestial altitudes and related ephemerides. Chakra Yantra, Dakshina Bhitti Yantra, Digamsha Yantra, Disha Yantra are some of these 19 yantras or instruments on display. The earliest discussion of astronomical instruments, gnomon and clepsydra, is found in the Vedangas, ancient Sanskrit texts from the Vedas. One needs a deep knowledge on this rather complex subject. I think that is the reason there were not many tourists. Somewhere in this Jantar Mantar, I kept my phone aside for using my other filming gadget and just forgot to take it back with me. I realized the mistake a bit too late. I lost my brand new Samsung phone here. It was a gift from my daughter. It's been almost 2 years now, but I still have to sometimes hear comments about my careless attitude about that lost phone. Another tourist attraction in Jaipur is the City Palace. It takes a few hours to take a good look at it. This palace used to be the home for the royal family of Jaipur, but later it was divided into two parts. One which contains few courtyards and museums, and the other where the royal family still resides. I skipped the palace visit. I'm not a big fan of museums. Also, I was a bit short on time. I had to go to the railway station a few hours before the train left, wrap up important parts of my bicycle, and ensure that the parcel office physically loads my bicycle onto the same train that I was traveling on. My bicycle got loaded onto the luggage compartment. Now I knew for sure that it would travel on the same train as me. As always, thank you for your time and see you in our next episode of this Rajasthan cycling tour in Jaisalmer or the Golden City.